Hear the pain! Look out, another one tonight!
Move back! Move back! Move back! Move back!
Get out the way! Get out the way! Get out the way!
Hi guys, it's Slatz for Rebel News, and I just arrived to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm continuing to cover the protests and disruptions caused by the election fallout, or should I say the waiting fallout, considering no election has actually occurred yet. Everything is still up in the air, and that is definitely contributing to an increase in tensions across the country. Now, the reason why I'm in my hotel room instead of outside is that it is extremely loud out there. There are police and media helicopters swarming around the convention center, which is right outside my accommodation, and police sirens are going off every few minutes. It's so loud you can barely hear me. You can barely hear yourself think. Before I hit the streets to bring you whatever news I can, I thought I would start by recapping last night's coverage in New York City. It was a crazy and very long night.
Hear the pain! Look out, another one tonight!
Move back! Move back! Move back! Move back!
Get out the way! Get out the way! Get out the way!
The protest started around 5 p.m. in Christopher Park. And when I arrived, I was immediately shocked by the amount of police officers that were piled into every single corner, every single intersection of the borough. There were hundreds. They were on bikes, in trucks, on foot. I had never seen so many police in my life. And of course, I was a little bit nervous because the last time I had an encounter with the NYPD while covering protests in New York City, I spent a few nights in jail. But fortunately, I didn't get arrested last night. What I did was witness an incredible show of power from the NYPD while they attempted to stop the protest from turning into a riot. Immediately, the protest march was flanked on both sides by hundreds of NYPD. This is a technique called kettling, where police follow protesters and effectively seal them in to control the crowd and make arrests easier. The technique worked because around 8 p.m., the protest had become fragmented and the remaining protesters ended up in Union Square. At first, I thought things were going pretty well. It had ended. No businesses had been destroyed. Nothing had been looted. No one had gotten hurt. But just as I was about to call a cab home, things geared right back up. Protesters continued to fill the streets and obstruct city buses. So it was then that the NYPD began standing off at the protesters, filling the opposing side of the street and demanding the crowd disperse. Protesters began riling up, standing in front of cars and even throwing things at the police officers. At one point, the police charged the square, hundreds of them descending on the remaining protesters and firing pepper spray. At one point, a protester accused an NYPD officer of killing a black man that night, though I could find no evidence that that had happened. And that immediately geared the protesters right back up.
Hear the pain! Look out, another one tonight!
It is getting really tense. Okay.
All in all, it was a wild night. I hope you enjoyed the coverage. And if you did, you can go to rebel2020.com to contribute towards the travel costs of setting me down here and bringing you whatever I can. Today I'm in Philadelphia, and I'm going to go hit the streets and see what I can see for you guys. For Rebel News, I'm Slatz.
While I'm here in Washington, I'm going to try and bring you some reports on what's going on, but I'm also going to try and live stream to our Twitter and to our YouTube. If something happens that I want you to see, I'm going to try to bring you the news as it comes in. But I have no idea when or what that might be. Things are so up in the air right now, much like the presidential election itself. So what I would recommend doing is subscribing to us on YouTube and hitting the notification icon so that you can be alerted whenever I am going live.